Recording is on.
Hi, YouTube. Jessica here on My Transgender Nation. Welcome back. We are still in our series of my personal story. This is part 5. And when we left off last, I was talking about the time after being married and the couple of years where I was dating women and dressing up in private. And as that 2 years went on, I was dressing up more and more on a regular basis. I would go out on a date or come home from work and immediately dress up if I was home alone, which most of the time I was. I think at this point, I had one daughter living at home. She was rarely there. So I pretty much had the house to myself. So I would dress up and live my life in female mode, and I was very happy with that. But it was taking over everything, and it was driving me. I was at the point where I couldn't go home and do it. I couldn't do it fast enough. And I decided that I needed to address this. And the world was awake at this point. This was only about 7 years ago now. And so, there was a lot more in the internet and everywhere else about transgender. So I was aware of transgender people, but I really hadn't associated myself with that term at this point in my life. It didn't dawn on me. I can't explain that part very well, but it's where I was. So I decided I had to do some investigation. So I went and got a book. I looked up on Amazon and found an appropriate book and downloaded it through the Kindle app. And I'm not a big reader at all. And I read this book in 3 days, just consumed it. And by the time I got done reading that book, I was like, oh my God, that was my story. I mean, it was very, very different, but in so many ways, that was my story. I was like, oh, that was scary. Am I transgender? Maybe I better verify this. So what did I do? I went and got another book on Amazon and downloaded that one and read that one in like 3 days. And I got done with the second book, and now I'm like, oh my God, I'm transgender. What do I do about this? Well, my first inclination is we got to find a way to make this go away. Because what you have to remember is that at this point in my life, I'm a 230-pound bald man. And I'm going to share with you my screen for a moment and show you a picture of me. There I am, 7 years ago. That's what I was starting with. So in my mind, doing something along the lines of transitioning was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I was that guy. So I said, well, maybe I should get a therapist and talk to the therapist, and maybe the therapist can help me just make this go away. Because I was convinced that must be possible. Now, the other thing you have to remember for me is that I was really never big on therapists at all. At one point in the latter part of my marriage, my wife wanted to do therapy, and I agreed to it. Oh, did I hate that? It was not for me. But with this, I felt like, well, I don't think I have a choice. So I started doing some investigation, looking online and whatnot, and trying to find something local that I could maybe meet with somebody and tell my story and see how they can help me make it go away. And what I found was at the time, I could not find anybody who really worked in this particular field specifically who could help me locally. It was kind of frustrating, actually. So, what do you do when all else fails locally? You go to the internet. And I did a lot of homework on the internet, and eventually I found the most fabulous therapist. I still use her today. She's out of California. She is really good at what she does. She works really exclusively with people like myself. So she had like videos online, and I looked at her videos, and I said, oh, I like the way she presents herself. So I reached out to her and said, I would like to make an appointment with you. And so we had our initial appointment. Now, in this initial appointment, I'm basically telling her in a very Reader's Digest way, everything that I just told you, including the part about my wife leaving me and finding a woman and getting married to her. Now, this is my first session with this woman. I didn't know her at all. When we get to that part, I've told her now that, basically I've known since I was 5, and, I was dressing up, and basically I was female. And so she starts laughing, and I'm taken back completely. I'm like, what's funny? I don't think anything's funny here. And she says, well, what you just told me. She goes, let me explain. She goes, you told me you were basically figured out at 5 that you were female, and that you put it in the closet and just lived your life. And now you've really come to terms with the fact that you're transgender. You were basically born a woman. Now, you told me that your wife was a lesbian before she met you. She married you. You had children. She left you, and now she's married to another woman. So basically, your wife has been a lesbian in her entire life because she married a woman. She goes, that's pretty funny. So I stopped and thought about what she just said and went, you know what? You're right. That is pretty funny. So that's how this whole thing started. I started with her and telling the story. So we get to this point. I've told her my story. She goes, okay, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to make it go away. I said, I can't keep doing this. It's driving me crazy. I'm going to work as a guy. I'm going out on dates as a guy. And I run home and I become a woman, and then I'm happy. I said, we need to make it go away. And she said, well, it's never going to go away. You can suppress it, as you have done pretty much your entire life, and live with it. And, you could probably work on how much you suppress it, but it's always going to be there. It's not going to go away. It's who you are. So she says the other thing you could do is you could embrace it. And I'm like, what do you mean embrace it? I showed you the picture. I'm 230 pounds. I'm bald. I'm a big guy, 6 feet tall. How am I possibly going to do that? And she explained to me each piece of the puzzle, all the things that I could do to take that 230-pound guy and make it into Jessica. And I said, really? We can do that? And I said, and I'll be happy with it? She goes, yeah. She goes, I think with your attitude, if you wanted to, you could get exactly where you want to be, and you'd be very happy. So right there in that very first session with her, I decided, she said, what do you want to do? I said, okay, I want to be happy. And obviously, I'm never going to be completely happy just living the lie that I'm a guy when I know I'm not. So let's do this. And I took a leap of faith and decided right then and there that I was going to go at this 110 miles an hour and get it all done. As I said, I started this when I was 57. And my immediate goal was, okay, I want to be 100% the new me before I turn 60. And so I set out to get that done. And that was my goal. So when we talk next, I'll go through more step by step. We'll do a few more videos of this, and I'll get you from starting that process through the end of that process and how I got to where I am now. I thank you for your time, YouTube. I hope you're having a great day. We'll talk soon.